My name is Dan. I need to write this down. I need to get it out of my head before the sounds start again, before the smell of old blood and antiseptic fills my nostrils, before the lights flicker and die. They say writing is therapeutic, a way to process trauma. But this isn't therapy. This is a warning, scrawled in the dim glow of a phone with 4% battery, in a place that should not exist. This is what happened to me in the Crestfall Memorial Hospital. It began with a skid, a blur of rain-smeared asphalt, and the sickening crunch of metal and glass. A deer, a stupid, beautiful creature, had leapt from the woods lining the isolated mountain pass. I swerved, overcorrected, and my world became a violent, tumbling kaleidoscope. The last thing I remembered was the taste of copper in my mouth and the cold mountain air rushing in through a shattered window. I woke to silence, a deep, profound silence that felt heavier than any noise. It was the silence of a vacuum, of a place where life had not just left, but had been forcibly extracted. I was lying on a gurney in a small, dimly lit emergency room. An IV was taped to my arm, but the bag was empty, dry and brittle. A faint, stale smell of antiseptic hung in the air, undercut by something else, something dank and earthy, like wet plaster and decay. My body was a symphony of pain. A sharp, stabbing sensation in my ribs protested every breath. My head throbbed with a steady, punishing rhythm. But I was alive. I tried to sit up, groaning as my muscles screamed in protest. The room was old. The tiles on the floor were a faded checkerboard of beige and brown, cracked in places. The medical equipment looked like it belonged in a museum. A bulky analog heart monitor with a dead screen. A blood pressure cuff with fraying Velcro. "Hello?" I called out, my voice a dry croak. It didn't echo. It was just swallowed by the oppressive quiet. I swung my legs off the gurney, my bare feet meeting the cold, gritty floor. I was still in my jeans and t-shirt, now stained with dirt and dry blood. My jacket was gone. I pulled the IV from my arm, a tiny bead of blood welling up. Steadying myself on the gurney, I took a few shaky steps towards the door. The hallway outside was a long, dark throat. The only light came from a few emergency exit signs, casting a sickly green glow that seemed to make the darkness deeper. Doors lined the corridor, some open, revealing empty rooms with stripped beds, others closed, their windows dark. I started walking, my footsteps unnaturally loud in the stillness. "Hello? Is anyone there? A doctor, a nurse?" Nothing. I passed a nurse's station. A dusty computer monitor sat on the desk, its power light dark. Charts with faded, illegible writing were scattered about. A mug of cold, thick, black coffee sat next to it, a skin of mold on its surface. How long had this place been empty? A growing, cold knot of dread began to form in my stomach. This wasn't right. Where were the people? Who had put me in that room? Who had attached the IV? I needed to find a phone, a way out. I tried several doors, a supply closet filled with yellowed linens, an office with a calendar on the wall from October 1987. The air grew colder the further I walked, the damp, earthy smell intensifying. It was the smell of a long-sealed tomb. Then I heard it, a soft, wet sound, a dragging. It came from a junction in the hallway ahead, around a corner shrouded in shadow. It was slow, deliberate. Shh-thump, shh-thump, like something heavy being pulled across the gritty floor. My breath hitched. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The dragging stopped. The silence that rushed back in was even more terrifying. I stood frozen, my heart hammering against my bruised ribs. I took a cautious step back, my eyes fixed on the dark corner. A new sound began, a low, guttural whisper. It was too distorted to make out words, a chaotic murmur that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, like the building itself was speaking. It was layered, as if multiple voices were talking over each other, a chorus of the damned. I broke. I turned and ran. Or rather, I stumbled into a limping, painful jog. Every jolt sent fire through my side, but the primal fear was a far greater motivator. I didn't look back. I just ran, turning down random hallways, pushing through swinging double doors, my only goal to put as much distance between me and that sound as possible. I found a staircase and scrambled up to the next floor, hoping for an exit, a window, anything. The second floor was a mirror of the first. Endless, dark hallways, empty rooms, that same chilling silence, now punctuated by the ragged sound of my own breathing. I ducked into a room labeled radiology and slid to the floor behind a large, antiquated X-ray machine. Pulling my knees to my chest, I listened, straining my ears. For a long time, there was nothing, just the thumping of my own heart. I began to think I had imagined it, that the head injury was causing auditory hallucinations. The silence, the isolation, it could play tricks on the mind. It had to be that. Then the lights in the hallway flickered, not a power surge. It was a deliberate, rhythmic flickering. On, off, on, off. And with each cycle of darkness, I saw something in the brief moment of illumination. A figure. It was tall, impossibly so, its head scraping the ceiling tiles. It was unnaturally thin, a wraith-like silhouette of elongated limbs and a distended torso. It didn't walk. It shuffled, its movement causing that same wet, dragging sound I'd heard before. Shh-thump, shh-thump. The flickering stopped, and the hallway light stayed on, now casting a steady, dim glow. The figure was gone. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying it was a trick of the light, a shadow, anything but what my gut knew it to be. When I opened them, I saw the trail. Leading from the hallway into the room opposite mine was a glistening, dark smear on the floor. It looked like sludge, like something rotten and liquefied had been dragged across the tiles. The damp, earthy smell was now overpowering, carrying with it a new stomach-churning note, the cloying sweetness of spoiled meat. This was no hallucination. I was not alone. And the thing that was in here with me was hunting. My mind raced. I had to get out. I had to find a way. I waited until my legs stopped shaking, then crept out from behind the machine. I avoided the slime trail and moved down the hall in the opposite direction, my back pressed against the wall. I found a map of the hospital encased in a dusty plexiglass frame. I was on the second floor. The main entrance was on the first. There was a stairwell at the far end of the wing that promised a more direct route down than the one I'd used. My journey became a nightmare of stealth and terror. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of my own clothing sounded like a gunshot. I passed rooms that made my blood run cold. A pediatric ward, tiny beds still made, a dusty, forgotten teddy bear lying on one. A physical therapy room with parallel bars, one of which was bent outward, as if something massive and powerful had forced its way through. And then I found the chapel. It was a small, non-denominational room with a few rows of pews and a simple altar. The air inside was still and cold, and on the altar, arranged with a terrible, mocking precision, were the remains of a deer. It was the one from the road, I was sure of it. Its body was splayed open, its organs removed and placed in a neat, concentric circle around its head. Its eyes were gone, but its mouth was frozen in a silent scream. Flies, fat and sluggish in the cold, buzzed around the carnage. This was a display, a message. This thing, this hunter, wasn't just stalking me for food. It was playing with me. It was showing me its power, its contempt for life, its artistry in death. I backed out to the chapel, bile rising in my throat. I ran again, no longer caring about the noise. The primal need to escape overrode everything. I found the stairwell and hurled myself down the steps, my injured body screaming in protest. The first floor was different. The air was thicker, the smell of decay so potent I could almost taste it. The slime trails were everywhere now, crisscrossing the hallways leading to and from doorways. And the whispers had returned. They were louder here, more distinct. I still couldn't make out words, but I could hear the emotions now. Malice, hunger, and a deep, ancient amusement. I followed the exit signs, my hope surging as I saw a pair of large double doors at the end of a long corridor. Main lobby was stenciled on the wall. I burst through the doors, and my hope shattered into a million pieces. The lobby was vast, with a high vaulted ceiling, and every single window, every glass door was bricked up, not boarded, but meticulously sealed with red bricks and fresh-looking mortar. It was a perfect, seamless prison. I ran to the main entrance, a grand archway that should have led to freedom, and pounded my fists against the cold, unyielding brick. "No, no!" I screamed, my voice cracking with despair. From the dark corridor behind me, I heard the dragging sound. Shh-thump, shh-thump. It was closer. It was coming for me. I scrambled away from the entrance, my eyes darting around the lobby. There was an information desk, a waiting area in with molded plastic chairs, and a bank of elevators. One of the elevator doors was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning. It was a terrible idea, a death trap, but it was the only hiding place I could see. I squeezed through the narrow opening, tumbling into the elevator car. It was dark and smelled of ozone and rust. I frantically pushed the closed door button, knowing it was useless without power. To my horror, with a groaning shudder, the elevator mechanisms whirred to life. The door began to slide shut. A surge of elation mixed with terror. How was there power? As the doors closed, I saw it emerge from the hallway and enter the lobby. The dim emergency lights illuminated it more clearly than before. Its skin was a pale, waxy grey, stretched taut over a skeletal frame. Its arms were too long, its fingers ending in long, blackened talons that scraped along the floor, creating the dragging sound. Its face was a nightmare. It had no eyes, just deep, dark sockets. Its mouth was a wide, lipless gash, pulled back into a permanent, silent shriek, and it was covered in the same black, glistening slime that stained the floors. It turned its head slowly, and even without eyes, I knew it was looking directly at the closing elevator doors. The doors shut with a final heavy thud. I slumped against the wall of the elevator, gasping. I had escaped, for now. The elevator was moving, down. The single button on the panel, which had no number, was illuminated. I hadn't pressed it. The elevator was taking me where it wanted me to go. The descent seemed to take an eternity. The air grew colder and colder, and the smell of decay became so thick it was hard to breathe. Finally, with a jarring clang, the elevator stopped. The doors slid open. I was in the basement. The darkness here was absolute, a physical presence that pressed in on me. The only light spilled from the elevator car, illuminating a small patch of concrete floor. I could make out the shapes of industrial pipes overhead and a narrow corridor leading away into the impenetrable black. The whispers were a constant chattering stream here, emanating from the darkness itself. I wasn't getting back on that elevator. It was a trap, a delivery system. I had to move. I stepped out, and immediately the elevator doors closed behind me, plunging me into total darkness. I fumbled in my pocket, my hands trembling, and pulled out my phone. I turned on the flashlight. The beam was a pathetic, tiny spear in an ocean of night, but it was all I had. I shone it down the corridor. The walls here were not painted. They were rough, damp concrete, streaked with black mold and more of the glistening slime. The corridor was lined with heavy, riveted metal doors, each with a small, barred window. The morgue. I had to keep moving. I walked slowly, my phone light dancing over the terrifying details. Some of the cell-like doors were open, revealing empty slabs. Others were closed. I made the mistake of shining my light through one of the windows. A body lay on the slab inside. It was wearing a faded nurse's uniform, a relic from decades past. It was desiccated, mummified by the cold, dry air. But its head was twisted at an impossible angle, and its mouth was frozen open in a final, silent scream. I moved on, my heart in my throat. The next cell contained another body, this one in a doctor's coat. And the next. This was a graveyard, a collection of trophies. The corridor ended in a large circular room. It looked like an old storage area or a generator room. In the center of the room was a chair, a simple wooden chair, and on the floor around it, drawn in what I desperately hoped was rust or paint, but knew in my soul was blood, was a complex, spiraling symbol. It was covered in jagged, unnatural angles and hooks that seemed to hurt my eyes to look at. This was its lair, its nest. I heard a soft metallic groan from behind me. I spun around, shining my phone light back down the corridor. One of the heavy morgue doors was slowly swinging open, then another and another. From within the cells, I heard a dry, rustling sound, a scraping. They began to emerge. The dead, the doctor, the nurses, an orderly, their movements jerky and unnatural, their limbs stiff with rigor mortis that should have long since passed. Their eyes were gone, just like the hunters, but they moved with a singular, horrifying purpose. They were herding me, blocking my escape. I was trapped. The horde of the dead shuffled towards me, their taloned feet scraping on the concrete. I backed into the circular room, towards the chair and the blasphemous symbol. A new sound cut through the whispers and the scraping. A high, reedy whistle. It was tuneless, discordant, a sound that seemed to violate the very laws of acoustics. It came from a dark archway on the far side of the circular room that I hadn't noticed before. And then the hunter emerged. It had to crouch to fit through the archway, unfurling to its full, terrifying height in the center of the room. It was even more monstrous up close. The waxy skin was translucent in places, showing dark, pulsing vessels beneath. The lipless gash of a mouth seemed to curl into a smile. It held out one long, taloned hand, palm up, and curled a finger, beckoning me towards the chair. It wanted me to sit. The dead closed in from behind, forming a semicircle, cutting off any hope of flight. The whispers rose to a crescendo, a cacophony of insane promises and ancient curses. The whistle continued, drilling into my brain. This was it. This was the end. I was to be its new trophy, seated in his terrible throne, another part of his collection. No. A raw, animal fury surged through me, burning away the fear. I would not go quietly. I would not be his puppet. If I was to die, I would die fighting. With a scream that tore from the very depths of my soul, I charged. Not away, but towards it. I ducked under its reaching arm, surprising even myself with my speed. I slammed my shoulder into its torso. It was like hitting a tree, hard, unyielding, and cold. But it staggered back a single step, a wet, gurgling sound of surprise erupting from its throat. Its whistle stopped. The whispers faltered. I didn't wait. I swung my phone, the hard plastic case connecting with the side of its head. The light flickered wildly. It let out a shriek of pure, unadulterated rage, a sound that felt like needles in my ears. It swiped at me with its talons, and I felt a searing pain across my chest as they ripped through my shirt and into my skin. I stumbled back, gasping. The dead thing surged forward, but the hunter shrieked again, and they froze. This was its kill, its prize. It would not be stolen from it. It advanced on me, its form seeming to grow larger, blotting out the little world my phone light created. I was backing away, right towards the archway it had come from. There was nowhere else to go. I turned and ran through it. I found myself in a much smaller room, a boiler room. Ancient, rusted machinery hulked in the darkness, and in the far wall there was a hole, a narrow, crumbling opening in the brickwork, just large enough for a man to squeeze through. Beyond it, I could see the faint, beautiful, glorious light of the moon reflecting off wet leaves. An escape, a way out. I heard the hunter's furious shuffle behind me. I didn't look back. I dove for the hole, scrambling through, bricks and mortar scraping my skin. I tumbled out the other side, falling onto damp, cold earth and leaves. I was outside. The cold, clean night air had never smelled so sweet. I was in an overgrown ravine behind the hospital. I could see the hulking, dark shape of the building silhouetted against the starry sky. I ran through the woods, thorns and branches tearing at my clothes, my chest burning, my body screaming in agony. I ran until I saw the flashing blue and red lights of a state trooper's car on the road above. I scrambled up the embankment, sobbing with relief. They found me, babbling and bleeding, and took me to a real hospital, a bright, clean, noisy place full of life. They treated my wounds. The cuts on my chest were deep, but not life-threatening. The lacerations required dozens of stitches. The doctors said the pattern was unusual. They put my cracked ribs and concussion down to the car accident. The police went to investigate Crestfall Memorial. They found my wrecked car. They found the abandoned hospital, but they found no bricked-up windows, no slime trails, no bodies in the basement. They said the basement was flooded, inaccessible. They told me it was the head injury, a vivid, traumatic dream. They sent me home a week ago. I'm sitting in my apartment now, writing this. The doctors gave me painkillers and told me to rest. But I can't rest, because last night I woke up to a sound. A soft, wet, dragging sound from my hallway. Shh-thump, shh-thump. And this morning, when I went to make coffee, I found a single black, glistening smear on my kitchen floor. It leads to the back door, which I know I locked, but is now slightly ajar. It's not over. It followed me home. It's not just hunting me in the hospital anymore. The hunt has a new territory. My name is Dan, and I am not alone.